Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining Luminati's web scraping and proxy management online workshop. My name is Lenchner. I'm Luminati's CEO. Usually, we're doing these webinars face-to-face globally every month, another place around the globe. As the current situation forces us, you can see my lovely kitchen behind. We are shifting this face-to-face webinar to be a face-to-face virtual webinar. So we have a big and professional group of Luminati employees here in this live broadcast, and they will be able to communicate with you also privately and actually work with you in a one-on-one session. I'll cover all of these in the next slides. I really appreciate you attending. Let's start. So I'm gonna do a short introduction about the basis of Proxy and Luminati and how do we do what we're doing. And afterwards, Christoph Udali, our product manager of the Luminati Proxy Manager, will be introduce you this product, this open source advanced product, and walk you through some scraping and bot detection best practices. Then you will have time for Q&A, and afterwards we will break down into smaller groups in which every Luminati professional will assist you to do the hands-on practice. This is the best time to download the tools that you will use after my introduction. I'm going to talk for a few minutes. In the meantime, I suggest that you will download the Luminati Proxy Manager, which would be the main tool that you will practice. And the curl, you have the links here, and you should see all these links also in the Zoom chat afterwards if you will want to see it again. Some housekeeping before we start. Check our Zoom chat for credentials for your Luminati account. You don't need to open a dedicated Luminati account for this practice. We've already opened one for you, and it's all in the Zoom chat. And you can also find the presentation links in the Zoom chat if you want to go through these links while we're talking. If you want to ask a question live while I'm speaking or while Chris is speaking, just raise your hand, not virtually. You can also do that, but we will probably won't see you. We have quite a lot of attendees. You can raise your hand in your Zoom console. And you can also use the Q&A button at the bottom of your Zoom console to write questions. We have a few moderators in the crowd that will be able to stop me and jump in, or stop Chris and jump in and ask the questions out loud for all of the audience. So let's start. I'll cover the basics pretty quickly because I know that all of you are here because you need to use a proxy service. And you actually want to understand what you need to do, how you want to do it. So I'll cover the basics pretty fast. So I assume that most of you are here because you have a need. You have a need for data. We're talking about publicly available data, and the World Wide Web is the biggest source for this kind of data, and it's growing rapidly every day, as all of us know. Now, there's a few problems that you encounter when trying to collect data in high scale. The first one is that you're located wherever you are physically located. Different websites will show different content to different users. As a business or as someone who is serving businesses, you want to see the world, the online world, and to be able to collect the online data as if you are a real consumer. Real consumers are all around the world, and you need to be able to mimic their behavior, including to mimic their location. The second issue that you need to overcome is that the website will some websites are trying to block the access to this publicly available data. And we're talking again about the need to collect data in scale and not just manually going to a website and view a public data. These websites will try to block scale traffic that they perceive as non-real consumer. And for these two main reasons, you need to use a proxy service. We have around 20 different use cases that we oversee in Luminati from roughly 10,000 customers, including the biggest companies in the world. The top ones are obviously online e-commerce, online retail. The second largest, or one of the top, let's say 5 largest verticals, is the travel industry, which all of you know today is being hurt pretty hard due to the coronavirus. We can also see it in our data that we collect from our customers. I mean, from what we're seeing from our customers' operation. And we have customers that are using us to fight ad fraud. So the only way to find fraudsters online is to mimic real users and to be actually being served with the fraudulent content. You need to use an IP that is not yours to do that, because you're doing it in scale, and the fraudsters will show you a legitimate content if they will think that someone is checking on them. We have customers using us for brand protection to find fake products online. And basically, we have customers using us to do whatever you need to do to mimic this real consumer behavior when you are approaching to a website to collect publicly available data in high scale. How we do it? So we have developed a pretty vast and comprehensive peer-to-peer network, being structured for more than 40 million unique monthly IPs. We're talking about real residential IPs. The way it works is that we are partnering up with app and software developers to embed our Luminati SDK, our piece of code. And every one of the consumers, of the app users, of these app developers and software developers has a choice. They can decide to opt into the Luminati network, and in return, they will always get a valuable benefit. For example, they will be able to use that app without seeing any advertisements, or to get that paid app for free. This is how we were able to generate this enormous enormous infrastructure of real residential IPs. All of these, what we call peers, these users that opted into the Luminati network, can opt out at any time. We don't collect any of their data. We're only using their device, and we are only using it when it's completely idle, which means that we won't use it if it doesn't have sufficient battery. We will try to use it only if it's connected to Wi-Fi. And we're making sure that the IP, which is their personal identifier, is being kept according to all of the laws and global regulations. From the other side of this network, we have our customers. I already covered the use cases, but it's also important to understand that to become a Luminati customer and to be able to use this infrastructure of more than 40 million IPs, you need to go through a compliance procedure, because we need to make sure that you're going to use this network only for legitimate use cases. I'll quickly cover the 4 types of proxy networks that Luminati has. I already talked about the rotating residential network. This is what I just talked about. You can pinpoint a specific residential IP from every country, almost every city and ASN in the world. So you can pinpoint the residential IP from New Jersey using Verizon, for example. We also have a data center proxy network with almost 800,000 IPs. Data center IPs are labeled as data center IPs. This is their major downside. So a website can check the IP type and see that it's not labeled as residential, and maybe decide to block this type of traffic to the website because they don't think it's a real consumer. However, some websites do accept these types of IPs. They consider to be more cost efficient and faster. Similar to the residential network, we have the mobile network. This is exactly the same as the residential network, the rotating residential network. But in some cases, we will allow using a very small portion of the data plan, and not the Wi-Fi. So it means mainly in the EdTech market, sometimes you want to see the advertisements that are being presented to the real consumers, but sometimes consumers will get different ads if they are connected to the internet via Wi-Fi or via 3G, 4G, LTE, and so on. So we do allow to view the web through mobile network, but only up to a certain threshold, because our peers is our most important asset, and we need to make sure that they will never get hurt. This is why we will use their device only when it's completely idle, and we will use the mobile network only when it's a must, and only a very, very small portion. We make sure that the consumption will be less than a standard YouTube ad that they will see. And the fourth type of proxy that we offer is the static residential IP. This is a hybrid solution, a mixture between the residential network and the data center network. Basically, these are data center IPs that are labeled as residential IPs. So think of an ISP, those big corporates that own a lot of IPs and allocate these IPs to the homeowners when you connect your home to the internet. And they got leftovers of these IPs. So these IPs are not being allocated to your house. They are still sitting in the data center, but labeled as residential. You can't get them in high scale as the rotating residential network because they are limited, but they are very, very valuable because they are labeled as residential. The website sees them as real consumer, but they are very stable and fast as if they are data center IPs. On top of the proxy infrastructure that we've built in the past 5 years almost, there's a second pillar on top of it, which we call the unblocker. The unblocker, after we understand that we oversee so many customers doing so much of the data extraction of the world, we realized that we are the professionals of how to extract the data, how to unblock a website and gain access to its publicly available data. So this is when we created the unblocker. It's working, it's in production, and a lot of our customers are using it already. Basically, we are taking the responsibility that you, the customer, will get 100% success rate. So we are using our infrastructure exactly the same. You will see in the slides afterwards when you will actually practice it. You send a request to a specific domain with a small tweak on the request just to make sure that the unblocker will support it. And we make sure that you will always get the response back. Okay, so we are doing the network and the IP management. We already know what is the right IP for the job. We are doing the header management. We are doing the cookie mapping and management to make sure that the request will pass, because it's not always enough to pick the right IP and the right user agent and the right header. And we are also doing the automated retries. It's all transparent. You don't see it. You just get the response once we were able to unblock the websites, which usually takes immediately. So it takes no time. On top of that, and this is the last part, we have built our data collection automation products. So just a quick recap, we've started with the really impressive infrastructure of different type of proxy that we have. On top of that, we've developed the unblocker product that makes sure that the website will be unblocked and access to the publicly available data will be granted. The Third pillar on top of it is the data collection automation product, which actually also automate the data collection, the data extraction itself. So we give you the best IPs to use. We make sure that the website will give you the access to actually extract the data. And we also enabling you to allow us to extract the data for you. Okay, so we will extract the data, we will parse it and validate it, and we will push it back to you in the way that you want to get it, in the right format, whether it will be to the S3 server in AWS or via an email that you want to get. It includes also a scheduler and many other things that we've developed and still keep to develop today. This was my part. Before going to the hands-on part with Chris, if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer. And if not, Itamar, the moderator, can shift it to Chris.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Chris. I'm an engineer working for Luminati, and I'm the engineer responsible for Luminati Proxy Manager. Before I start, I just want to remind you guys that in the chat you can find the credentials, so you don't need to create your own account. We shared the credentials, and also we shared the link presentation. So after we finish, you can review it again. You can get back to it if you forget about something. Also, I know that it was already told, but after the short introduction of what LPM is, what Luminati Proxy Manager is, I will start sharing my screen and I will be doing the live demo. So it's the best to be prepared for this and to follow the practices that I will be showing you. In order to do this, you need to have installed LPM on your machine. You can go to luminati.io/LPM. I can go with you. This is the page. And we have a bunch of different options on how to install it on your machines. So basically, if it's or Linux, then you have an installation script. You can also download it directly from the NPM. It's not mandatory, but it will be helpful also to have work in Carol. It's not for all the users. It's a bit more advanced. You need to understand how to open terminal and so on. And again, it's not mandatory, but I will be using terminal a little bit. So just be prepared for that if you want. All right. So Luminati Proxy Manager, or LPM as we call it, is a local tool that you install either locally on your machine or somewhere on the remote server. And it's a really powerful tool for proxy operations management. It's one entry point where you can configure multiple proxies, multiple vendors. It's not necessarily only Luminati. We support also external vendors. And in this one place, you gather all the statistics, all the request logs. It's a really powerful tool for debugging your proxy operations and monitor it. Thanks to the statistics and request logs, but also we as a company, Luminati, has been gathering expertise and experience with scraping for years already. And based on that experience, we built some features which we embedded into this tool, into the LPM. And some of the features you can just use out of the box, like IP rotation, headers rotations, and so on. But there are also other features that you need to, they need your input. You need to configure a bit. A very powerful feature, which is called rules. where you can define by yourself based on some status code. For example, if you are getting blocked from the target side with status code 502, you can retry such requests automatically. So it happens under the hood. You send the request fails, and LPM can retry such a request with changing an IP without even you knowing what was happening. There is also a way to optimize your bandwidth, which boils down to optimize cost. So you can skip loading images, for example. And again, this is rules is a generic feature, generic mechanism where you can define whatever you want. But I will be showing you around during the live demo and practices. So I want to use this slide again just to emphasize the existence of an extra layer, which is the LPM in between the crawler and super proxy. So in a regular world where you don't need to use the LPM to consume our Luminati proxy services, you can talk directly to the super proxy, but then you need to use authentication. You need to manage the IP rotation and session rotation by yourself. And also if you need any specific targeting or if you need to set headers, everything you need to do by yourself. And now if you install LPM, which I will show you very soon how it looks and how to configure it. It's very straightforward. You can easily configure proxy ports, set some configuration, and it manages the authentication, targeting, and other parameters, and also headers rotations and IP rotation for you. You don't need to care about it. All right, so before I start, I will be sharing my screen soon, but I want to remind you guys that anytime you can raise your hand. We have a whole team of experts and moderators. I will try to answer the questions that you may have right away. If you're getting really stuck, like something doesn't work for you, don't worry. After the presentation, there will be time for one-to-one sessions with our experts. So again, you can use chat, you can use Q&A icon in the Zoom UI and ask questions whenever you want.
Chris, before you continue, I just want to say that we had some problem with connecting to the user. It is working now. And the next thing that you should know that if it is not working, you can use a hard refresh now and it will work. And that's all. If you have any problem, ask our in the chat and we will work.
All right, thank you. All right, so let's start the live demo. I'm gonna leave the presentation now and go back to my main system, which is Ubuntu. Since I'm using Ubuntu Linux, this is just a matter of running Luminati command in the terminal. If you're running on Windows, then it's after installing there, you should have a shortcut on your desktop. So in my case, it's just a matter of running Luminati command. It takes a few seconds to start. Okay, after a few seconds, you should be welcoming with the label open an admin browser by going to localhost on port 22999. Let's go there. There was some issue with connecting to our server, but I think it's already resolved. Probably I didn't have a connection for a second. Yeah, but everything looks good now. Okay, so this is the welcoming page that you will see for the first time when you open the UI. There is a huge button start in the middle, which I already clicked, but let's do it again. And this creates a first proxy port. So these options you can leave as defaults with the default values. I will go over these options later on. Now just let's hit save. and this creates a first proxy port for you. This is a command that you can easily just grab, copy, and paste in your terminal. Let's do it. And I just sent my first request using Luminati Proxy Manager, my local proxy. So what it was, curl with proxy on localhost port 24000, which is exactly the port that I created. And the URL was http lumtest.com/myip.json. All right, and there is a response. Some of you may already noticed that over here in the logs viewer, something appeared. So let's clear it, and I want to draw your attention to this place of the UI, and I'll send the same request again. Okay, so live, you showed it live. You saw it that all the requests are being showed here live. And most of you are already probably familiar with this UI. This is very similar to what Google Chrome developers tool with networking tab has. This is just a logs viewer, basically the same as networking tab, with all the basic informations about the request, like URL, method, status code, what IP was used, pure IP, and all the response and request headers, along with the response. All right. Also, as I mentioned, terminal is probably for some of you the easiest and the fastest option to consume and to proxy and send the requests. But if you're not familiar with the terminal and curl command and so on, you don't need to do it. There is also another option. This little icon over here, if you hit it, it will open a built-in embedded Chromium browser. But basically, it's Puppeteer. And it's pre-configured with this proxy, so I don't need to even set any certificates. I don't need to configure proxy. This works out of the box. So if I go to, let's say, whatismyIppro.com, it loads the page. You can see that the live preview is here. All the requests are being showed here, and it says I'm connecting from Poland right now. All right. So our first, let's get back to the presentation.
Chris, we have some question from the audience. Is there a configuration for a specific fallback on the LPM?
Configuration for fallback for LPM. What is the question?
The question is there a configuration for a specific fallback on the LPM?
So there, I'm not sure if I understood correctly, but probably it may mean that you are asking for the rules. So let's say if the request fails with some specific status code, you can configure the rule to retry. But we will be covering this later on during the practices. Was it your question? I'm not sure if I understood correctly.
He asked if about no peer available.
No peer available. Yes, so no peer available is part of the response, and there is a way to have an automatic way to retry on such events. But again, I will be covering this topic in a while. So let's get back to it in a few minutes. All right, actually, we didn't start our first practice. Our first practice is to connect to the internet from Germany. Open a new port, set it with targeting to DE, and configure our LPM to send requests from Germany. So let's do it. If I click on the proxy port that I created, I'm being moved to the configuration page, and here under tab targeting, there is a drop down with countries, and from here I can choose Germany, and that's it. If I go to terminal and send the same request again, I'll see that the IP is is from DE, it's Germany. And it's more visible in the browser. Let me get back to the browser. If I hit refresh, it says I'm connecting from Russia for some reason. Might be some issue with assigning an IP. Let me refresh it. This should work. I'm sorry for that. I need to choose another zone.
Chris, try residential.
It was residential right now. Okay, so it was just a matter of choosing the right zone, which is better configured. Okay, so just to test, double check if it really works. Now let's change the country to Brazil, and let's get back to the browser. I hit refresh again. Yes, and it says I'm connecting from Brazil. So notice that it's just a matter of 2 clicks, like a really easy thing to do in the UI, and I change my whole traffic and routing through a different country. All right, so this was the first practice. Just to recap what I did, I'm gonna remove it and start from scratch. When you first visit the UI of the LPM, you will see a huge button here. You hit start, save, and then you go inside the proxy port configuration, and under targeting, you choose country and whatever country you want, like Germany. All right. And again, you can test it from the terminal using curl command, or by hitting this button, browse, or the same result will be if you click this button. It will open a browser which is pre-configured with this newly created proxy port. And if you have questions, if you're getting stuck, if you have some issues, as you see, it happens that there are some issues that everything is solvable. Just ask, use the Q&A feature, and we'll try to be answering live.
Okay, so I just want to stop you for a second, Chris. We are seeing that we have a few problems from Luke and ML and a few other guys. So we will try to help you in a private room. So we'll send you a link in a few minutes, and please connect to the link that we'll send you, and we'll try to solve it for you. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Itamar. In the meantime, I'm gonna move on to the next practice, which is rotating IPs. So in 95% of the cases, if you scrape, you fall into 2 main categories. The first category is that you load full pages and you use browsers or some headless browsers like Puppeteer or Selenium, where you need to load multiple subsequent requests. And in this case, you want to keep the same IP as long as possible, because let's say if you go to some social media account and you log in, you perform some action, like you do probably some ads verification or other task, then you log out and log into another account. You need to keep the same IP as long as possible, and actually as long as you are using the same account. And then if you start using another account, you want to change the IP, but it should be persistible. If let's say you load a page, some of you probably know, but let's show it to everybody. And I opened the developers tool under networking tab. If I hit refresh, there is a bunch of requests. This is a very simple site, and this site required us to send 34 requests. Most of them are JavaScript and some images, resources. If the site is a bit more complex, like in social media matter, then there might be even 200-300 requests. All of them should be sent from the same IP. If the target site sees that you're sending some requests from one IP, some requests within the same session from another IP, it gets very suspicious, and you can easily get blocked, and you lose the account. Your account might be blocked for some time, or even banned forever. So it's very important in such cases to keep the same IP as long as the session takes. So it's a default configuration. We have presets here, and this is by default chosen long single session. So as you can see, if I keep refreshing, I keep getting the same IP ending with 195. Refresh again, it's still the same IP. So this is perfect. You don't need to do anything. It's by default. But you may fall into another category where you want to scrape. You exactly know what API you scrape and what endpoint, what resources you're fetching. And in this case, you probably are sending some single requests to JSON endpoints on API, and you want to rotate as quickly as possible. Ideally, on each request, you want to use another IP. Also, you want to rotate headers and fingerprints. So every time you reach out to the API, you are seen as a completely new user somewhere, like maybe even from a different country. So for this use case, there is another preset called rotating, and this is just a matter of choosing this preset, and everything is done. Under the hood, there is, if you're interested in more advanced configuration, you can control it by yourself here, but preset controls it for you. So once you choose rotating, max request is chosen to 1, and then if I go back to the browser and hit refresh, each time my IP will be different, and this is ending with 66. If I refresh, it's already 195. If I refresh again, it's different again. Not only this one, all the requests under the hood are from different IPs. So if this site was giving us some valuable data, it would be probably already blocking us, because this is pretty obvious that this traffic is sent through the proxy. Okay.
Chris, we have a question from the audience. I hope I say the name correctly. Dietmar Fischer. Dietmar, if you want, you can just please unmute yourself and ask the question. Yeah, we can hear you now.
In the targeting side, how can I change the operating system? Because
the operating system
out.
Yes, the operating system is available only on residential network. So there are different types of network, as Or was introducing you to our network types. We have data center, we have residential, we have static residential, and mobile. And in case if it's static, like data center, we don't have an option to control operating system, because these IPs are as it says, the name, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's from data center, and most of the data center IPs are from Linux, or we don't have a control over it. But once you choose residential, and also you have a permission, which is everything is configurable from the control panel, you can force to use any specific operating system, like for example Windows, or macOS, or Android. These are 3 operating systems that we support, that we have SDK for. So I hope I answered your question. And let's recap what I just told you about IPs rotation. So once you create your proxy port, you probably fall into 2 main categories. You will want to use long single session or rotate your IP on each request. And one thing that I forgot to mention, that if you keep the same IP, this will keep the same IP as long as you don't change it. And there is a few options on how to change it. So obviously, after some time, you will want to rotate such an IP after you perform some action. Like, as I say, you go to some website, like social media portal, you log in, perform some action, you log out, and then there's probably a good time for changing your IP to prepare yourself for the next operation. And you can do it from the UI. You can hit refresh here. And also we have an API. The LPM has its own API, which is well documented on Swagger page. And there is this endpoint called refresh sessions. You click try it out. You specify the port number. If you click execute, you will generate a curl command for a local host on port 22999, which is the same port where UI lives. And under API refresh sessions / port number, you will get an endpoint where you control the will refresh the page. Let me open this page again. I started playing with the targeting, so let's create a completely new one from scratch. Open the browser, and here, as you can see, it doesn't matter how many times I refresh, I keep getting the same IP. Now I will execute this curl command from the terminal. Let me copy it, copy and paste in the terminal. It worked. And now if I refresh this again, I'm expecting the IP to change. Sorry, one more thing. I need to refresh on port 24001, right? Because I used a different port. And now this IP should change. And indeed, it got changed. All right. So this was the second practice about IP rotations. And before I move on to the next practices, I just want to introduce you to one concept. These were very basic features in the LPM. LPM has more advanced features, which may require to intercept the requests. What it means? It's kind of it's splitting the whole request into two intervals. So in a regular world where LPM acts as a transparent proxy, fully transparent proxy, there is an end-to-end encryption. So there's an encryption between your end browser and the target site. And LPM, if the traffic is secured on HTTPS protocol, then there is no way for the LPM or super proxy or peer to read whatever is in that request. And your browser will correctly see the response signed with the target site's certificate. But in some cases now, when we want to allow LPM for seeing what is the response to act upon it, for example, we want to allow LPM to retry some requests if the status code is bad, or to skip some requests, then LPM has to understand what the underlying traffic is. So we introduce request intercepting, and now there's no end-to-end encryption between the end client and the target site. Now there's an encryption between your browser and the LPM, and there is another connection between the LPM and the target site. So the LPM will see the response signed with the target site certificate, and your browser will see the response signed with the LPM certificate. And most modern browsers will complain about it because it's a security vulnerability. It may be read as a man-in-the-middle attack, but indeed we are aware of that. We want to allow for that. So you need to install certificate in your browsers. This URL, if you go to this URL to the FAQ, there is a short instruction. It's pretty straightforward. There's instructions on how to do it in most of the browsers and operating systems, and that's it. I just wanted to introduce you to the concept. In our case, for the sake of the presentation, I will be using this pre-configured Puppeteer browser, which comes along with the LPM, and it's already pre-configured. doesn't complain about the certificate. So I don't need to, if you are using the same browser, if you're following me, you won't need to do anything extra. No extra work is required, but just don't be surprised if you are trying to connect from your regular browser like Firefox or Chrome. You will need to install certificate, and unless you do it, you will see the errors, the complaints from the browser. Okay, so let's continue. I hope it was clear. If not, then you can ask questions, but in the meantime, I'm gonna move on. So the next practice, as I said, will be using request intercepting, and I will introduce you to the rules. And the first rule that I will be showing you is the rule to retry failed requests. Retry if status code of the response was 502. 502 is a very common way to block. The target sites very often use 502 if they detect that it's some automated behavior or some bots or some proxy traffic. So I will set a rule in LPM to retry request if status code was 502. And also I want to mention that there is a very handy API called http://stat.us/any-number, which gives in the response the specified numbers as status code. All right. And
sorry, Chris, we have another question from the audience. What kind of data do you analyze while packet inspection is done after TLS termination when using your certificate?
Can you read again the last part of the question? After the TLS.
Chris,
so basically we analyze. We don't analyze anything. It's just LPM. LPM doesn't send it anywhere. So if it's on your local machine, then you're fully safe, and the request is just encrypted. So LPM will know the request headers, response headers, and the whole body of both request and response. I didn't hear the last part of the question, but I hope I already answered to the whole question.
I will ask it again just to make sure. What kind of data do you analyze while packet inspection is done after TLS termination when using the certificate?
So I'm not sure what is TLS termination. But anyway, I think I already answered this question. If not, then please ask again. But again, LPM doesn't analyze, it just encrypts the data, encrypts the whole request and the response for the sake of applying, for example, rules, like in this case. If there is no interception, then LPM wouldn't be able to read that the response status code was 502. Because if the traffic is encrypted, then there's only connect request, and after TLS handshake, everything is encrypted, including status code. So we need to give something. We need to allow LPM to decrypt it. And let's see how it works in action. I'm getting back to the LPM. I'm going to remove all the proxy ports and create it from scratch. So this is newly created default proxy port, and under rules, if you want to see rules, you will see that there's information that in order to use rules, you need to have SSL analyzing turned on. This is exactly what I told you. SSL analyzing is also called request interception. If you allow for that, from now on, you allow LPM for encrypting the whole traffic, and you can use all the rules that are prepared for you. So our rule will be based on status code. If status code is 502, then retry with new IP, and let's say retry only once. And on the same page, there's also test rules UI for easily debugging your request. So you can actually play around, you can configure, and in the same place you can test how it works. This by default is the request is to lumtest.com myip.json, which gives status code 200. So the status code is 200. If I go to rules tab, there's nothing. No rules have been triggered, which is fine. Our rule should work only on status code 502. So let's use the API that I introduced you to, http stat.us/ I will use 502 because I need status code in the response 502. So if I send this request again and go to rules, I see that the rule was applied on status code retry with new IP. It was applied once, and it's very visible, very nicely presented in the timing tab, that the first request, how long it took, and the second request, and on the same port, how long it took. And obviously the final response was also 502. In a real world, hopefully using a new IP unblocks it, and I'm able to see the real data. But in our case, I kept using the API, which is always giving us 502. So this is why I still see 502 here. All right. So just to recap, if you create your proxy port, you need to go to general and enable SSL analyzing. If you don't do it, you will also see the complaining UI. Actually, it's already done. It's already gone. And from the rules UI, you select trigger status code. You choose status code, whatever is predefined here. You can also type something. And the action in our case was retry with new IP. Okay, so this was the third practice. And if you're getting stuck, I just want to remind you that after the presentation, we have a whole team of experts waiting for you, and they will cover all the issues that you may have in the one-to-one room with screen sharing. So don't worry, there will be time for debugging. Okay, and the last practice that I have prepared for you today is for bandwidth optimization. It's very nice because bandwidth optimization boils down to cost optimization, so we can save money. It's very important to optimize your operations. So I will create two proxy ports, and again, this is the rules, but it's a bit different type of rule. First proxy port I will leave as is. I won't touch it. And
Chris, maybe before we are going to the next practice, we have some few questions from the audience. So the first question is, do you provide a Docker image with LPM installed so that I can run everything within a container without needing to install anything on my host machine?
Yes, thank you for that question. And it's a very quick answer. Yes, we have an image for Docker. And if you go to probably luminati.io/lpm, there should be an option to use Docker image. Let me see. Yes, it's the fourth option, Docker image. You just use Docker pool and the name of the image, and it should be working out of the box. Okay, so let's continue.
We have another question for the audience. Maybe it's too difficult for me, so I'm adding this question in the chat. We have Luminati setup for scraping, and it has a lot of eSocket timeout or econ reset. What are the best practices to scale Luminati service in cluster managed by Kubernetes?
So these errors are a bit generic, and there is no single answer for that. If you're getting if you're scaling up and see a lot of these type of errors, it's the best to just reach out to support. The root reason might be really depending on many factors. It might be that that your connection to the internet is bad. It might be that you are not getting enough peers. It's really very specific to each use case. So if you're getting connection resets, then it's the best to solve it with us. You can take the advantage of these workshops, and at the end of the presentation, we'll have a whole team of experts. You can just hop on the call with one of us, and we'll try to solve these errors for you.
One last question before we continue. We have a lot of questions for the audience. Is there a way to minimize the IP from changing on the middle of the session, or at least have a callback that notify in case the IP change, making possible stop the scraping and avoid have the process blocked by the website, for instance?
Yes, thank you. It's a great question. So this question is a continuation of practice number 2, where we were discussing IP rotation between long single session and rotating on each request. So let's focus on long single session. And this is a continuation of the topic. If you're using Datacenter, then all the IPs are always available. So Datacenter with long single session will always give you the same IP as long as the server and data center is alive. So probably long time. But also there is a residential network, and obviously these IPs are coming from real people somewhere in front of their mobile phones or computers in the world, and sometimes they become offline, and there is no way to keep such a session alive, right? Even though we say it's a long single session, we keep it as long as possible, but there's nothing to do if the peer becomes offline, if it's becoming unavailable. So your question was if there is a way to detect such a situation, and the answer is yes. Under IP control, there is an option session termination. So this also requires SSL analyzing to be turned on, and if you choose yes, then you can protect your accounts. I can imagine that you have multiple accounts, and once the IP changes, your account is getting blocked, right? And you lose your account, which is valuable also. You don't want to lose your accounts. So this session termination feature will stop sending any traffic if the peer becomes offline, which I believe in most of the cases, or maybe even in all the cases, will prevent from blocking your accounts. So thank you again for the question. Any other questions, Itamar?
Not at this moment. Maybe I will.
Okay. Okay.
Thanks.
So let's continue with the last practice that I started presenting. So it was bandwidth optimization. I will have 2 proxy ports. The first will be default with the default configurations, and the other proxy port will. Is it still loading? Let me try again. The other proxy port, we will configure a rule where, based on the URL, we will skip loading images. So it's the best to just show show it live in the UI. So again, I want to start from scratch. I'm removing the existing proxy ports. I create the first one as I promised, and this I'm gonna leave with the default parameters. And I'm gonna create the second proxy port, and let's go inside. Okay, first I need to turn on SSL analyzing, and the rule will be based on the URL. So if URL is ending with PNG, JPG, JPEG, and so on, so basically if the request is for the image or any other media type, I want to skip it. I don't want to waste my bandwidth on loading the same images over and over. In many cases, you load the same pages over and over, and there's a lot of bandwidth, a lot of images going on, which you are not interested in. You are interested in probably 1 or 5% of the content, like maybe some specific price or some advertisement or some product description in the e-commerce, but most of the website you're not really interested into, so you can skip it. and let me show you how it works. So now I will open two browsers. The first one on the left-hand side will be using the regular proxy, the first one with the default parameters, and the other browser on the right-hand side will be using the proxy port with the rules configured. Okay, so let's go to the same website and let's compare the results. I will go to instagram.com. And in the meantime, I will also go to instagram.com in the second browser. Okay, so on the right-hand side, it's already loaded. It's finished. It looks kind of empty, but it's good because the images were skipped. And I didn't waste bandwidth on loading the main image on the left-hand side. On the left-hand side, I can see the regular main web page, regular Instagram.com page. So you see the difference. Obviously, the skipping images also will improve the performance. It should load faster, and obviously with the less traffic. Okay, so let me get back to the presentation. I see that the Google Slides crashed. So basically, this is anyway. This is it was our last practice, and this is a right time for asking questions.
We have another question from the audience.
Yes.
Is it possible to web scrape the product reviews by using two different ports?
By using two different ports, yes, you can create as many ports as you want, as you need, and it's up to you. It's up to your infrastructure and your operations. Whatever you come up with may make sense. And so you didn't introduce me too well to your use case. So product reviews doesn't say much to me, but obviously you can use multiple proxy ports for any type of scraping. Any other questions?
No questions this time.
Okay, so this is the end of my presentation, and after this presentation, right now, it's time for one-to-one sessions. So if you had any issues during the live demo when you were trying to follow me on the practices, now it's the right time to raise your hands, to tell us that you need any assistance, and one of our experts will hop on a call with you.
Maybe before we continue, we have a few more questions from the audience. One
Sure.
question is, if you are using library like request in Node.js or pure HTTP request, it will be the same result, right?
I can see the question by myself. If you're using a library, the same results as what? I guess that you meant that the same results as from the browser. So the answer is yes and no. In theory, it should be the same, but also please remember that each library is implemented in a little bit differently, and target sites nowadays have a really complex and sophisticated mechanism on bot detection. And like one of the most sophisticated mechanisms that I'm aware of is detecting the way SSL handshake is being done. So for example, if you use Chrome and you connect to some website and you use the SSL handshake, it's done differently on the TCP level than Node.js is doing that. So even though you send exactly the same requests, you're using the same IP, and everything looks, at least in our eyes, exactly the same, there is a low-level TCP layer where the SSL handshake is done a little bit differently, in both ways correctly, but implementation is a bit different, and this is enough for the target site to detect us. So the answer is yes and no. In theory, the same requests are being sent, but please remember that IP is not everything. There's also headers. There's also the order of the headers. There is the SSL handshake and much more than that.
We have a few more questions from the audience, but before I continue, please all, if you want to ask a question, please use the Q&A. It's very easy for us to follow and make sure that we are answering for all of you. It's quite hard to answer everyone in the chat. I'm seeing that Ditamar has another question, but before I'm going to Ditamar again, Valerie, you have the permission to speak. So if you have any more questions, this is the time, or Chris answer it completely. And in the meantime, Daniel has another question. Sorry, Daria has another question. How does rotation affect scraping? Aren't we supposed to stay under one IP during one session and not to be tracked?
Yes, so IP rotation should be configured for specific target sites and the way you're scraping. As I said before, if you need to load full pages, then you can't rotate too quickly. You need to maintain the same IP during the whole page load, and you can control when you want to refresh such an IP by clicking the refresh sessions on the UI or using the API that LPM provides.
Another question that we had from Daria, beside what would be optimal plan to use? For example, we use proxies for SMM. Which number of streams is needed?
What is SMM? And I didn't understand the question. What is SMM? And the last part,
Daria, I give you the permission to speak, so you can just unmute yourself and ask the question, of course. She meant social media marketing, but you can unmute yourself and ask the question, please.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, hi. Thank you very much for your presentation. Very interesting. Just I was wondering, for social media marketing, like what plan would be optimal to use? Because I understand that like we're buying a number of IPs and also you have streams. So how is it like? What would be the optimal number of streams?
Okay, so thank you for the question. Now I understand fully understand what you meant. There's no one rule for unblocking, and each social media marketing sites have a different mechanism for detection. But from my experience, the best is to use a residential network and to use the same IP as long as the one session takes, and refresh such a session whenever you need to switch an account.
Okay.
And the number of streams, this is, I guess, the number of concurrent requests, right? Concurrent sessions. So this is up to your scale. If you want to scale up, then you can use as many as you want. You can use thousands, and these will be independent sessions from each other.
I see. Okay, thank you very much.
So LPM can manage it for you. For example, there's multiple ways of setting it up. One way is to create as many as you want, let's say 100 proxy ports. Each one will be using a separate session, a separate IP. So each one can handle concurrent stream, concurrent session. And whenever you want to log out, I'm not sure what you're exactly doing on the social media marketing sites, but I'm guessing you're logging into some accounts. So you log in, you go to website, you log in, you perform some action, then you log out, and this is a time for refreshing session for this specific stream, as you call it, and then you can use another account, and you have as many concurrent sessions as you want. We have 4 million residential IPs, so it's very difficult to run out of it.
I see. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. If anyone has more questions, this is the time. So you can use the Q&A or ask us in the chat. And if not, at least you can continue to the next slide.
So the presentation is still dead. Oh, no, it's not dead. Anyway, my presentation has finished. There's no more questions, as I can see. Okay, let me get back to the presentation.
We have one more question. What is the best value to set for UV thread pool size while running LPM?
Let me see the question. I don't know what UV thread pool size is. Can you elaborate? Is it something related to node?
Valerie, I gave you the ability to speak now, so you can just unmute yourself and we can hear you now.
Yes, it is related to Node.js, and when you are running the Node.js application, it uses the default value 4, and that is why all DNS requests and other requests like network or file system are blocking, and only 4 threads, so basically 4 parallel requests are allowed to make it. It is connected with the previous question about e-connection reset, because I'm thinking it is also connected with this value. That is why I'm asking.
Okay, so to be honest, I'm not aware of that, and I didn't even know that this flag existed. I'm happy to continue the conversation after the presentation, because I want to fully understand if it is related and if it can resolve some issues. I'm happy to spend some time on that, but for now I don't know. I can't help.
So we will send you a link to speak with Chris privately, and you'll be able to do it if you want later. Thanks.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think we are done. Chris, you can end your presentation if you like.
Okay, cool. So this is the end of the presentation. Now it's a time for one-to-one sessions, and thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoyed it. Let's start the last part of the workshops. Thank you.